Sotheby's, a century-long reign in the auction world. From selling books to going online and reaching billion-dollar revenues. Auctions are far from a modern invention. The first ones appeared in the Netherlands as early as the 17th century. But the story of the auction business as a billion-dollar industry began a century later. More precisely, on March 11, 1744, when London hosted the very first Sotheby's auction. In this article, we'll dive into the fascinating tale of the triumphs and challenges of this acknowledged giant of the global auction market. Birth of an idea, from books to pub auctions. The founder of Sotheby's was Londoner Samuel Baker, an entrepreneur who traded in rare and valuable books, a status symbol in the 18th century. In 1734, he came across an unusually large collection. To sell it, he compiled a catalog with fixed prices and rented a room in the London pub Angel and Crown. The idea proved successful, and over the next 10 years, sales at the pub became a regular event. As Baker's catalogs grew, it became clear that fixed prices limited his business potential. He decided to switch to the auction format. The most valuable volumes went to the highest bidder. That's how the famous 1744 auction came to be, where Baker sold the library of Sir John Stanley, earning $826. Expanding horizons, from manuscripts to fine art and real estate. As the business grew, Baker brought in a partner, George Lee, the son of a vicar, who was the first to use a snuff box and an ivory gavel during auctions. After Baker's death in 1778, Lee inherited the business. He then took on his nephew, John Sotheby, whose name would later be immortalized in the company's title. In 1823, the firm passed to John Sotheby's son, Samuel, and after his death, to Sotheby's chief accountant, John Wilkinson. Wilkinson partnered with another company employee, Edward Hodge. When Hodge died in 1907, 3 of his 5 heirs decided to sell their shares. This brought in 3 new owners: lawyer Montague Barlow, banker Felix Warra, and Foreign Office official Geoffrey Hobson. During this period, Sotheby's expanded its scope. To books and manuscripts, it added medals, coins, engravings, and antiquities, and by the early 20th century, fine art. Revenue grew as the company began charging sellers for including illustrations in its catalogs. After World War I, Sotheby's even entered the territory of its main rival, Christie's, by moving into the sale of country houses. The new owners devised an extremely effective strategy for poaching real estate listings from Christie's. Sotheby's had a special team of catalogers tasked with scanning obituaries and quickly traveling to potential properties for sale. Their speed earned them the nickname, the Flying Squad. To make homes appear more attractive than they had in their owners' lifetimes, they would visit the property, inspect it, and clear out unwanted items before photographing it for the catalog. Montague Barlow also introduced other tactics to outpace the competition. For example, the commission on paintings and luxury items was reduced from 12.5% to 7.5%. Before major auctions, Barlow would buy newspaper ads and, in true entrepreneurial fashion, wasn't above occasionally leaking information to the press. The Golden Age, Peter Wilson, and global expansion. World War II not only failed to disrupt Sotheby's operations, it actually strengthened the company's position in the art market. Yet the true golden age of the auction house began in the 1950s, thanks to the convergence of 2 key factors. The first was economic. More than 70 years ago, the British government lifted foreign exchange controls for commercial enterprises, allowing Sotheby's to expand its business internationally. Sellers could now be sought abroad, and payments could be made in whatever currency was most convenient for them, On the other side of the equation, the pool of potential buyers also grew, as wealthy collectors from overseas entered the market. The second factor was a man, Peter Wilson, who became chairman of Sotheby's in 1958. An Eton graduate and former advertising executive for an art magazine, Wilson had a sharp eye for trends. He quickly recognized the growing demand for impressionist and modernist works. Under his leadership, Sotheby's began offering not just paintings, but museum-quality masterpieces. That same year, Wilson orchestrated a spectacular sale of paintings from the American collection of Jakob Goldschmidt. The event was not only heavily covered in the press, but also marked the first time in auction history that a sale was staged as a black-tie gala evening. The auction drew over 1,000 attendees, including celebrities such as actors Kirk Douglas, Anthony Quinn, and Lady Churchill. In just 21 minutes, 7 paintings went under the hammer for a total of $781,000, a record at the time. Sotheby's commission alone came to $75,500. The success was so overwhelming that by the end of the evening, the distinguished guests were giving a standing ovation, literally standing on their chairs. This triumph was followed by a string of headline-making sales, including Peter Paul Rubens's The Adoration of the Magi and the Impressionist collection of author Somerset Maugham. Within just a few years, Wilson had transformed Sotheby's, redefining what auctions could achieve in the art market. The Goldschmidt sale also opened new doors for Sotheby's in America. In 1964, the company acquired a controlling stake in Park Bernay, the largest auction house in the United States, securing its own headquarters in New York. By the late 1960s and 1970s, Sotheby's had expanded with branches in Los Angeles, Paris, Zurich, Florence, and other cities. By then, Sotheby's was a vast organization, encompassing not only auction rooms but also framing workshops, art restoration studios, and specialists in art packing and storage. The company even published books and its own art auction magazine, and in 1976 launched a subsidiary dedicated to selling luxury real estate. Crisis, going public, and the Alfred Taubman era. By the mid-1970s, Sotheby's was facing a crisis. The auction house's commission of 10–15% per sale generated relatively modest revenue. Add to that rising inflation, a weakening art market, and the high costs of maintaining expensive overseas offices, and the financial picture looked bleak. In 1974, with a turnover of $90 million, Sotheby's pre-tax profits barely reached $5 million. To turn things around, Sotheby's introduced a buyer's premium and sought additional funding. Wilson and his partners issued nearly 4 million shares at $2.5 each. The company went public, and within just 18 months, Sotheby's share price more than doubled. However, after Peter Wilson stepped down as managing director in 1980, the company's stock market success was short-lived. By 1982, roughly 3/4 of Sotheby's shares were held by outside investors. With the collectibles market in decline, the company was on the brink of a takeover. Sotheby's was saved from disaster in 1983 by businessman and art collector Alfred Taubman, who purchased the auction house for $124.8 million. The son of Polish-Jewish immigrants, Taubman was known worldwide as the shopping mall king. He approached Sotheby's as if it were one of his malls, believing that art should be treated as a luxury consumer product, and the auction house as a boutique offering full-service experiences. To create this luxury boutique atmosphere, Taubman produced lavish, glossy catalogs that enticed new clients with previews of upcoming celebrity sales, such as the estate of Andy Warhol. Sotheby's also opened a consulting department staffed with attractive young women, reinforcing the glamorous image. Noticing that only a small fraction of the world's collectors actually made purchases at auction, Taubman introduced a lending service. Sotheby's financial services division offered loans of up to 40% of an artwork's estimated value. Taubman's arrival coincided with a renewed surge of interest in the art market, reflected in the numbers. In the 1985-1986 season, more than 80 works of art sold for over $1 million each. By 1987, Sotheby's annual sales had surpassed $1 billion for the first time. In 1988, Sotheby's began making its auction results publicly available and returned to the stock market, this time listing on the New York Stock Exchange, where shares were offered at $18 each. About a quarter of Sotheby's shares were sold in London at $17.10 apiece. That same year, Sotheby's opened a branch in Hong Kong, held its first and only auction in the Soviet Union, and achieved spectacular success with the sale of Andy Warhol's collection, totaling $25.3 million. By year's end, Sotheby's annual sales were just shy of $2 billion, and by late 1989, the figure had soared to $2.9 billion. The year 1990 was another milestone, marked by the sensational sale of Greta Garbo's collection for $20.9 million. The record-breaking sale of John Constable's The Lock for $10.78 million, and the 13th-century Duke of Northumberland bestiary manuscript for $295.7 million. But the Gulf War triggered a recession that hit the auction market hard. By 1991, Sotheby's sales had dropped to $1.1 billion, a level that persisted for several years. By the late 1990s, however, the situation had stabilized, aided in part by the sale of the personal effects of the Duke and Duchess of Windsor in 1998. That auction fetched $34 million, drew extensive media coverage, attracted hundreds of new clients, and helped push annual sales close to $2 billion. In November 1999, Sotheby's entered the online era, holding its first internet auction in partnership with Amazon, which handled payment processing and shipping. The Taubman era culminated in the transformation of Sotheby's headquarters in line with his full-service boutique vision. The London office gained a cafe, and alongside its new Bond Street building, Sotheby's opened a location in Kingston, a historic suburb of the city. The New York headquarters underwent a major renovation, adding 6 floors. Designed to resemble Taubman's shopping centers, the building featured an escalator, glass walls, and a lavish gallery, a $130 million investment. The new millennium, records, and a change of ownership. In 2000, Alfred Taubman stepped down as head of Sotheby's, handing over leadership to William Ruprecht, the former director of its U.S. operations. The resignation followed a financial scandal. Taubman and Christie's chairman Anthony Tennant had agreed to fix service fees. While such an agreement was not a criminal offense in the United Kingdom, in the United States, where Sotheby's earned most of its revenue, it was prohibited under the Sherman Antitrust Act. In December 2001, Taubman was found guilty and sentenced to a symbolic term. Reports vary between 9.5 months and a year. The conviction, however, did little to tarnish his reputation. In 2005, he sold his controlling stake in Sotheby's, retaining a 4.9% share. Even after retiring from business, he continued to consult Sotheby's experts and remained a visible presence at auctions as a buyer until the end of his life. The early 21st century at Sotheby's was marked by a string of high-profile, record-breaking sales. 2002, in London, Peter Paul Rubens's The Massacre of the Innocents sold for $49.5 million, or $76.5 million, becoming the most expensive old master painting ever sold at the time. 2004, Pablo Picasso's Boy with a Pipe fetched $104.2 million, setting a new world record for any painting at auction. 2010, Alberto Giacometti's Walk-in Man I sold for $103.7 million, making it the most expensive sculpture in the world. Interestingly, 5 years later, this record was broken by another Giacometti work, Pointing Man, sold at Christie's for $141.3 million. 2017, the Pink Star, a 59/60-carat fancy vivid pink diamond, sold in Hong Kong for $71.2 million. Purchased by the jewelry company Chow Tai Fook, the stone was renamed the CTF Pink Star in honor of the buyer's late father. To this day, it remains one of the most expensive gemstones ever sold at auction. In 2019, after 31 years as a publicly traded company, Sotheby's returned to private ownership. The new owner was French media magnate Patrick Drahi, then 60 years old and among the 10 wealthiest people in France. The deal was valued at $3.7 billion. Charles F. Stewart was appointed as the company's new CEO. Innovation and Sotheby's global presence today. As we return to where this story began, it's worth noting that the 280-year history of auctions truly started with Sotheby's. In short, Sotheby's has always been first among the first. To back that up, here are some of the milestones where Sotheby's was a true pioneer. The first auction house to cross the Atlantic and open offices in America. The first auction house to hold sales in Asia, 1973. The first to introduce evening sales, now a cornerstone of the art market. The first to use satellite transmission to conduct simultaneous auctions in London and New York. The first to sell works by living artists at auction. Jasper Johns, Andy Warhol, Robert Rauschenberg. The first auction to sell a lot for more than $100 million, 2004. A pioneer in e-commerce, 2000. Since 2017, a contributor to scientific research, and since 2018, an active user of artificial intelligence in its operations. What else does Sotheby's do? During the COVID-19 pandemic, Sotheby's launched its Buy Now marketplace platform for online trading. In this digital space, luxury collectors can buy or offer items for sale across a wide range of categories. Submissions are reviewed free of charge by Sotheby's experts, who then provide valuations. All it takes is uploading an image and description of the item. Beyond its flagship locations in London and New York, Sotheby's holds sales in Paris, Milan, Zurich, Geneva, Amsterdam, Toronto, Doha, and Hong Kong. In 2007, it opened a subsidiary in Russia. While Sotheby's Russia does not hold commercial auctions, it provides advisory services for collectors, organizes pre-auction exhibitions, charity auctions, and private non-auction sales. Sotheby's range of services remains broad. Its specialists handle appraisals recognized by tax authorities and insurance companies in clients' home countries, arrange private sales, provide loans for the purchase of luxury goods, and broker high-end real estate transactions. Another major branch of the company is the Sotheby's Institute of Art, which operates in Europe, the United States, and Hong Kong. In addition to training future art historians, dealers, and exhibition curators, the Institute offers professional development programs for established experts. From a modest book sale in a London pub to billion-dollar global operations, Sotheby's has not only witnessed, but actively shaped the evolution of the auction industry. For nearly 3 centuries, it has been at the forefront of innovation, setting records, expanding into new markets, and redefining what it means to buy and sell art. As technology and tastes continue to evolve, one thing remains constant: the thrill of the hammer's fall and the promise of the next great sale. In that moment, whether in a gilded auction room or streamed to millions online, Sotheby's reminds the world that history is still being written, one lot at a time.